Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look into the Halloween franchise and putting two beasts of the franchise against each other. Because who doesn't love a fight? And who doesn't love a fight between two of probably the most iconic films to come out of the franchise? So today we're going to be battling out between Halloween H20 and Halloween 2018. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around and let's just jump straight into the video. Okay, so first let's start off with Halloween H20. Not just add water, that is. So Halloween H20 released in 1998 by Steve Miner. Halloween H20 is part of the timeline, but nothing else happens except Halloween 1 and Halloween 2. So Michael Myers comes down, tries to attack Laurie Strode, kills all of her friends, and then the film carries on in Halloween 2, where he rocks up to the hospital and tries to kill her, where she manages to evade his attack and he's blown to bits with Dr. Loomis in the hospital. And that is where that timeline ends until 20 years later, when we pick back up. We're in California and Laurie Strode has changed her name to Karen Tate, and she's now headmistress of an all-exclusive private school, basically in the middle of nowhere. And she has a son, and yeah, she is basically living every single day in fear that one day her brother will come back. Because that's also another important thing to put in. They are still siblings in this timeline. So she's terrified that her brother is going to come back and find her, because she does not believe that that explosion killed him. I think one of the great lines she says is, he sat in an asylum for 17 years and then one rainy night he decided to come trick-or-treating. Like that is pretty good. So yeah. And then yeah, it's Halloween again. And this time it is her son's 17th birthday. So the last time it was Halloween and someone was 17, it was her when Michael Myers attacked. So connect the dots. And surprise, surprise, Michael Myers isn't dead and he comes back 20 years later. Now, my personal relationship with this film is I absolutely love it. I think that this is probably like one of the best films in the franchise, which might be controversial. I don't really know where the horror franchise, I don't really know where the horror community stands on Halloween H20, but I love it. I think it's mainly because it was one of the films I used to watch growing up a lot. It was the one Halloween film that terrified me. I could watch the first one easily, but Halloween H20 for some reason used to terrify me. I used to purposely take the DVD and like hide it, like throw it in a kitchen drawers and have to look at it because it would terrify me so much. But yeah, in my ideal perfect world, I would scrub clean all the other Halloween films and just keep Halloween 1, 2 and H20, and that is my ideal timeline to follow. Because I think it fits so perfectly. I think it is how you do a reboot or a requel. I think horror now needs to take notes, because Halloween H20, right, let's get into the flaws. Okay, the mask. The mask is absolutely dreadful. I think at the start of the film when they use some of the Halloween 6 masks that were reworked. It works great there. When the smoking nun is attacked. The smoking nurse is attacked. Yeah, that mask I think works absolutely brilliant. It's only when obviously they started to do the reshoots and they started to use CGI masks and the other mask with the big eyes, that's when it gets rough, and you can see Michael Myers' eyes, which, you know, the Halloween purists absolutely go batshit crazy for the whole, you can't see his eyes, you can't do anything like that. I personally don't mind the mask that they mainly use, not the CGI one and not the weird one through the door, the one in between. I can't remember what it was, but I'll put it somewhere here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I actually don't mind that mask. I think the hair is a bit stupid, but as it goes, if you kind of squint your eyes and don't pay too much attention to Michael Myers in it, I think it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's no Halloween 5, so we're lucky that way. But yeah, that's probably one of the main negatives. And then also, it's ugly big sister Halloween Resurrection, which I hate that is attached to this film. Halloween Resurrection is I don't want to talk. We're not addressing the elephant in the room, which Halloween Resurrection. So no, not that kind of video. Yes, so let's just look into kind of what makes Halloween H2O like so brilliant to me. Okay, so number one, I think Laurie Strode. Laurie Strode as a character in this film is probably the strongest we ever see her. She obviously comes with emotional baggage. We see that she's really traumatized. We see that, you know, she's struggling with alcoholism. And obviously she's got a child who isn't little anymore, but obviously she's still terrified and wants to protect him from whatever's out there. And I just think that the character makes more sense here to be so traumatized, because you've got that brother and sister bond, not bond, but you have that brother and sister relationship that has the connection, and then you have she escaped from him once and he came back for the same night to finish the job. So of course she still thinks that Michael Myers is still out there and Michael Myers wants to kill her. Whereas if we look in 2018, they scrap all of that and it just makes no real sense, but we will get into that. So yeah, I think Laurie Strode as a character is amazing in this film. I think Jamie Lee Curtis really carries this film. And my biggest my biggest thing that upsets me is that Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't stand this film. She said somewhere that it was just a cash grab for her or something like that. And it really upsets me because I'm like, Miss Jamie, this film is brilliant. This film is so 90s. It's so camp. It's so like, I mean, it's a Scream movie. I love the Scream franchise, and I think Halloween H2O is it's a Scream movie. You can't hide away from it. I mean, the same guy that did the score. I mean, it's quite literally, some of the scores exactly the same than it is in Scream. They play Scream 2 on the TV, like, there's all that little bit of connections. But yeah, it's basically a Scream movie, and that's just why it's so brilliant. Some of my favourite scenes, of course, the opening scene. We have the Nurse Marion. Has anyone ever told you secondhand smoke kills? Yeah, but they're all dead. That is brilliant. That should be on the smoking ads. Like, that is... No, that's pro-smoking. Don't smoke. But yeah, love that. And then... what's my other favorite? I mean, towards the end, where Laurie Strode picks the axe off the wall and screams Michael, insert clip here. I mean, it's goosebumps. That's like goosebumps. And it's that like cheesy, corny, like late 90s horror that I personally just think is like peak horror. Horror never got better than it did right there in the late 90s. Yeah, I am quite biased. I do really love Halloween H2O. I think a lot of people online say that it doesn't have that like Halloween feel to it, but I completely disagree. I watch Halloween H2O and it makes me feel like it is Halloween. Obviously people say like Halloween 4 is like the one to go to, that this film feels like Halloween, which yeah, it does, but to me personally, I think Halloween H2O has a great effect, and it does make me feel like, yeah, it is Halloween. Other great scenes we have. We also have the bathroom scene. Oh, that bathroom scene haunted me for a lifetime as a child. No public bathroom would I use on my own ever, because I was like, Michael Myers is in there and he wants to stab me while I'm taking a shit. Like, that kind of level, like you just don't see that anymore. And then I think if we look at Michael Myers himself in Halloween H2O, it's definitely a much more of a humanized version of Michael Myers. He is just a man in a mask. I personally prefer this, and I know the Halloween fans go crazy because they love, like, Michael Myers is the shape, he is nature on two legs, like, he is this evil being, which is great, I love it, but in the context of a sequel, I think, yeah, he's just a psycho in a mask. He's a bit of a weirdo, and I just prefer it. I think what they did with it in Halloween, David Gordon Green, was a bit too far. And that's where it would have gone if we carried on. But just to be like, it's a man in a mask, it's my brother, he's a weirdo, he has an obsession with me. I really do prefer my Michael Myers. He's a bit more human. He isn't supernatural, he is just a bit of a freak. And that's what I kind of prefer. I like my Michael Myers just a man in some overalls. Let's just get into the ending. Let's just jump straight into it. I don't want this video to be too long. I just wanted to quickly put 10p in and just do a quick pew pew. The ending of Halloween H2O is absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal! Laurie Strode, taking her ambulance where Michael Myers had been put in a body bag and loaded into the back. She gets in the front seat, threatens to shoot the place up, and then drives him off a cliff, runs him over, pins him against a tree. And then Michael Myers is all like, one clean move, beheaded. So I can't fault Halloween for H2O. I think it was such a great end to the franchise, and I think if they would have stopped there and never made another Halloween film again, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't mind. Obviously, Halloween Resurrection happened, but I don't like to talk about it. I don't like the retcon. I don't like any of that stuff. We don't talk about her in this house. In this house, Halloween Resurrection does. I mean, I have the DVD, but it doesn't exist. But yeah, I think that is like the perfect ending ever. Like, behead Michael Myers, war is over, that's it, that's done, and keep it as that. And then that's your legacy. Obviously, money talks, and 40 years later, Halloween is released. So not quite 40 years later from Halloween H2O, 20 years later from Halloween H2O, 40 years since the original Halloween, and David Gordon Green's Halloween bursts onto the horror scene. Wow. The build up to this film was so intense, so intense. I remember it was summertime, Comic-Con was about, and there was talks in the community of this trailer that had been released of the Halloween, and all that was kind of said was how mental it was, and the teeth dropping, and I was the most annoying person to be around because all I would talk about was Halloween 40. I was so excited, and they announced Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back, and they released these promo images, and the hype was so real. Like, people were turned for this film. You have no idea. I mean, you probably do, but like, yeah, remember guys, remember how turned we were about Halloween H40 coming back. Like, we no one knew what was going on. We were like, is this a sequel to H2O? Like, where are they going to retcon? Like, Jamie Lee Curtis is back. Like, we genuinely thought they were going to retcon Halloween H2O's ending and like have it continue on. Like, imagine, that's what they should have done. Then the trailer drops and we kind of realise where we're coming from, and they start talking about how they've retconned it all the way back to the original. And I think this is the downfall of this film. Now, I don't hate David Gordon Green's Halloween. I really don't. I really do think it is a solid film. I went to watch it last year when they re-released it in cinema, and honestly, I can't knock it as a standalone film. I think, yeah, great. If I wasn't a hardcore Halloween fan and I just went and watched that film, I think I'd really enjoy it. And I do really enjoy it. It's what happened afterwards that kind of annoys me, but we won't get into that today. We're just going to put these films together. So this film is all about 40 years from the original. Laurie Strode is a really paranoid alcoholic survivor. She is locked away in her own fortress of a house. Guns, ammunition, like, she's ready to kill. And she's pushed away her family, her daughter Karen, her granddaughter Allison. They're all quite estranged to her because she's this like paranoid like town freak, which is a nice touch. I do, however, think one of the reasons why it's not done as well as H2O is because in H2O we had that extra backstory of, oh, when I was in the hospital he came to attack me as well. Michael Myers didn't stop coming. That kind of thought, it's my brother coming after me. There was way much more of a reason for her to be paranoid, whereas in this film it's kind of like, well, what happened is horrible, I killed all your friends, but I don't know if you would still be this traumatized now. And I don't know if that's coming from like me being a desensitized person, but I would have got over it a little bit more than she would have, of building a house, buying all these weapons. But again, I understand the whole trauma stuff, I really do, but I do think if they would, that whole stuff would have worked a lot better if they'd included at least the second film. Because in the second film, you kind of get more of a context of Michael Myers and the brother and sister thing. I personally believe that the brother and sister thing should have stayed in. I think that would have had more of a connection to the film, and it would have had more of a drive. Because in this film, when Michael Myers escapes, obviously he doesn't come straight for Laurie, and then she realises that he's not coming for her, and the doctor tries to get him to Laurie. And then when Michael reaches Laurie, he really doesn't care. It's not like in Halloween H2O where they're at the door together and they're like, whoa! And it's like a showdown. Like, they wanted a showdown. They marketed it as this big showdown between Michael and Laurie, which I get, that's fine, but there isn't a reason for it. Because Michael Myers is like, well, yeah, you're the reason I'm in prison, but I've got no drive to be here. And I'm pretty sure Michael Myers wasn't meant to be supernatural in this one either, so there's not really a rhyme or reason for it. And that's my only problem with that kind of relationship, is I just wish she would have kept it brother and sister, and that's why he came for her that night. And then it would have been more of a showdown, in my personal opinion. Okay, now let's dive into Michael Myers in this film. So, Michael Myers in the Halloween 2018, we see him, it builds him more of a human than I would argue that Halloween H2O does. Because we see him without the mask, we see him as a patient of a mental hospital. We go in with the podcasters and we meet like this old frail man with handcuffs on. And then we see him obviously coming into the restroom, trying to putting the mask on. Like, we see him as a human, as an old man. And obviously that is all retcon then in the next two, which is what I don't really understand. They build him up really humanizing, but then they go in this like shape, force of nature. I'm supernatural. Is he human? Is he not? They bring all that back in, but well, it's like being a man. And personally, I think it should have been more like the original. You don't really see him, and he is that creepy shape. And that's one thing they've never been able to bring back, is that whole like the shape. And they like to say it, they like to do it, but if they just never do it right. And I think that is all lost when we see too much of Michael. We see, yeah, like I said, in the mental hospital and things like that. So that is the struggle bus of that one. I think it's a bit yikes. However, I will give it to them. Michael Myers is absolutely brutal in this film. He is back. When Michael Myers starts killing again, that is like Michael Myers is back and this franchise is here. And it really did put his foot in and of like, we are back. We're in Haddonfield. Michael Myers is at large again. And that is when I'm like, yes, get in. Like, that was where it was at. Like the shot of Michael Myers where he hits Haddonfield, he's walking through, the little lady from 2 with the rollers in. Like, oh my god, like Michael Myers is so brutal, and that was like literally brilliant. Literally so brilliant. And then we get this such fast pacing, like, yeah, we feel established, we feel like it is Halloween again. Like, let's fucking go. But I will argue this film lacks its setting. I think it doesn't feel like Halloween to me. It really does lack that. Like, is this Halloween, or is this like this summer terror will be the only thing taking a vacation? Like, it feels like a summery kind of film, which is upsetting because obviously it is Halloween. So yeah, that was Michael Myers in this film. I think, so yeah, that is kind of Michael Myers in all of his glory in that one. The mask in this one, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 is probably very fair. Yeah, I like it. I don't hate it. I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But let's go down to the final showdown. So the showdown happens. Dr. Sartain goes basically batshit, kidnaps Michael Myers and takes him to Laurie's fortress for a showdown. So he wants to see how Michael Myers reacts in the wild with Laurie Strode. And then obviously what they realise is, well, he doesn't really care. He's just going to kill her because he wants to kill someone. So the showdown starts to happen, and basically Laurie Strode goes batshit, starts locking all the doors, and she begins to hunt Michael Myers down, which is obviously a juxtaposition to the first one where she is hunted by Michael as he stalks the house for her. She stalks the house for him this time around, which is great. I like it. Some really great tension in that scene. What I did not like is the shot of Laurie Strode on the grass, and then Michael Myers looks over and she's gone. Blech! Like, this is the time, like, do a homage, but this is the time to really put some, like, air into the franchise and make more iconic scenes. You don't have to do that. And then, obviously, when Laurie Strode's in the backlight and they relight her like they did in the original, and she's like, happy Halloween, Michael. Gross. Just gross. Didn't need that. Made my skin crawl. No thank you. But apart from that, I did really like it. I liked the Strode sisters all fighting back, throwing him down the stairs. It's a trap. Bang, house sets on fire, and then the final scene of Michael's mask's inflamed. Fantastic. I think if they would have stopped there, it would have been brilliant. It would have been fine. It would have been a really cool, like, Jamie Lee Curtis has come back, like, this is Halloween 2018, a little spin-off, and I think that would have been fine. What they didn't need to do is 2 more films. I feel like I could do a video on those, but it would just be me being negative for 20 minutes, which I don't want to be. I feel like I've been a lot more positive in this video. But yeah, I do really like Halloween 2018. If I was going to put them head to head, however, if we're going to put them together and we're going to do a versus, obviously I think Halloween H2O is going to win out on top. Hands down, there's no discussion to be had about it. I just think it is a better film. It's a lot stronger. It feels more like a Halloween film to me. So yeah, that's all I have to say on the matter. I want to know if you guys agree or disagree with me, so let me know in the comments if you prefer Halloween H2O or Halloween 2018. I do really want to know what points you got. So yeah, I hope you like this one, guys. I'm currently in like a Summerween vibes, like it's got to June and I can't wait for it to be Halloween again, hence why the video on Halloween. So yeah, if you guys want me to do any more Halloween films, let me know. I would love to talk about them. Any other film suggestions, let me know. But yeah, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay spooky, and I will see you in the next one.